Welcome, everybody. So happy you're joining us on TBI Talk once again. My name is Lindy Boone Michaelis, and I want to remind our listeners that the reason we started TBI Talk is we have a nonprofit called Ryan's Reach, and Ryan is my son. And in his name, we're trying to help other people like him. He has a traumatic brain injury, and that is why we have such empathy for and a feeling of wanting to reach out to this community because we've walked it. And I'm his mom. And so I like to invite people onto this program that can share their own TBI stories, traumatic brain injury. Sometimes they're the ones with the traumatic brain injury, and sometimes it's a loved one. But we think that it really helps to feel less alone, to hear other people's stories. And through that, you also get ideas of things to try, things that maybe you hadn't heard of that is out there for therapy. So we want to provide expertise and just a feeling of community. And I know for me, that has been very helpful to know that I'm not the only one that's ever been in this position. And there are other people that have walked it before you and maybe have a little bit more to give input, insight, and comfort. So today is no different. I have a wonderful guest, and her name is Sue Reeb. And I met her so many years ago that I don't remember what year, and we're going to talk about it. Maybe she has a better memory for years, but I want to read a little bit about her. She is the founder, president of an organization called B.R.A.I.N, and that's an acronym. I'm going to let her tell you how the acronym works for brain, but she's going to tell her story about how this all came about. She has a daughter with a brain injury, and of course, so many of the nonprofits that get started because they've had a little experience in the area that they're reaching out to. So I'm going to read from her website, Sue's little bio here. Sue is a former public school teacher and communications consultant. Along with her husband, Jerry, she founded B.R.A.I.N. The organization was born out of passion for their own daughter, Kristen, who was misdiagnosed for over 30 years. Imagine that. Kristen slipped through the cracks of the educational, medical, social, and even criminal systems and was accurately diagnosed with a brain injury by a brain scan. So the cause of the injury is being attributed to a rushed forceps delivery at birth. Nobody knew about that. B.R.A.I.N now assists hundreds of families who have adult family members who suffer with brain injury. So out of this one story, which sounds so tragic, hundreds of families are getting help for their loved ones. And so I introduce you to Sue Reeb. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, you are, Lindy.
The reason is for years I thought I was reading it and calling you Sue Rube, and then I heard
Yes.
you say Reeb, and I went, oh my gosh, I've been mispronouncing it all the.
Well, I'm either Sue Rube or I'm C Reeb because it's spelled the same, but you are doing it absolutely perfectly.
Okay, good. Well, first thing I want to do is have you tell me what brain, the acronym is for brain.
Yes. B.R.A.I.N stands for Brain Rehabilitation and Injury Network. And this is important to understand. TBI is only a part of brain, and that we also address vascular injuries like stroke, aneurysms, and so forth of acquired brain injury.
That's good to know because I referred to it almost interchangeably, brain injury and traumatic brain injury that just slips
Yes,
right off my tongue so easily. But there is the other kind of brain injury that wasn't a traumatic brain injury, but acquired. And
yes,
yet they need the same types of therapy most often
yes,
and have
yes.
some of the same manifestations. So
Well, yes.
go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that every injury to the brain is traumatic
Mm,
to the family, to the person,
yes.
whether it is a stroke, aneurysm, or a gunshot wound.
Mhm. Yeah.
So these labels that the medical system has placed on these situations sometimes are confusing.
Mhm.
But I know that you understand that you and I are on the same page.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. We met originally, and maybe you remember the year. I typically
Mm,
can't,
It was,
categorize things by year, but
did I have or the organization of B.R.A.I.N at that time?
I think you were talking about it. I don't think you had even
Okay.
started
Yes,
because we were at a support group for one that I was in, and I think you were a
yes,
guest, Mother
yes,
of Miracles. And there was a
correct.
group of us moms who had started meeting once a month, just on our own, organically, thinking if we
Yes,
meet together, you can tell me what you've been doing for your loved
yes,
one, and we can
yes.
exchange thoughts and
So
ideas.
that
You
was
were a guest.
that was around 2006.
Okay.
Um, a lot happened daily from honestly 2001
Mm,
to 2008 when we started and put together our 501c3. So it
mhm.
was in that time.
Right. I knew you were talking about it at that meeting, and we started putting our heads together because by then we had started our own Ryan's Reach. And
Yeah,
we were learning by being part of this nonprofit that beyond therapy, I was, and I think you were too, thinking about residential situations for our
yeah,
loved ones because
yeah,
that's sorely lacking. And so
yeah,
we started seeing if we could merge, and then we realized our visions are slightly different, and we didn't feel like that was supposed to happen. But you have supported us, and we have supported you, and I
yeah,
love
yes.
what has become of your vision. And so that's what I want to talk about. But first,
Okay,
I want you to
okay,
tell me about your journey with Kristen.
okay.
See if
Well,
we can do it in about 3.5 minutes.
there you go.
And we'll continue on the other side, but that's what we have right now.
There you go. So, Kristen was born in 1975. I was given an overdose of Pitocin in the hospital to help labor along.
Mhm.
I knew it was an overdose because it was so strong, I couldn't even let my husband go away from me when it took place. And fortunately, the doctor walked by, saw the distress I was in, and came in. And after I had been on this medication for several minutes, one transaction lasted for over 5 minutes. And it was the first transaction, and it hit me like a freight train.
Oh, you
So
mean
he,
a contraction, of
yes,
your labor? Okay.
yes. So he pulled out the IV, and expletives were everywhere. And he's trying to help the mother, which is absolutely what happens in a situation like this.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the baby was without oxygen at that point for several minutes while they attended to me to save my life. And
Mhm.
I am so grateful.
Yeah.
I am grateful to God that I was able to be saved. And then Kristen, though, was pulled out in a very rush. There was no time to prepare me for a C section. And as she was pulled out, we later found out her jaw was broken, her eye was affected, her brain was affected in the frontal lobes, which we did not know because the doctors said those little red marks will go away. And they did.
Mhm.
Many people are delivered by suction or forceps at
Right.
that time. This was 1975.
Mhm.
And she cried, she
Mhm.
cried, and she cried. But
Mhm.
because she was my first, I did not understand that she was crying out of pain and
No, babies cry. Yeah.
not out of hunger or frustration or being wet or needed to be comforted. She could not be comforted.
Mm.
In fact, she only nursed on one side of me
Mm.
because she could not eat or be touched on the other side, and I didn't understand why. But
Sue,
with a broken sh
I need to take a break, and I want you to put a pin in right where you are. I want to come right
oh,
back to that part of your story. I'm sorry
okay.
to interrupt, but we will be right back because there's a lot more to this story. And so now we're back, and we're right in the middle of the story that Sue Reeb is telling me about what happened at birth with her
Yes,
daughter, Kristen. And you were
yes.
mentioning that she was having trouble nursing. So please pick it up right there.
Okay, so, we'll just cut to it. As a baby, she cried incessantly. She was in pain from what she had experienced at birth.
Mm.
As a toddler, she was extremely verbal. She had 50 words at 10, 11 months.
That's
She
amazing.
was incredibly intelligent, but she had no cause or effect, the consequences that a toddler learns. For instance, she burned her hand on the iron like 3, 4 days in a row and didn't seem to remember that she did it the day before, but she could talk about
Hmm.
everything. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can see the confusion that her dad and I were in, we did not understand what was going on. Was she a willful child? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Was she a strong child? Yes. School became an absolute nightmare because she could not seem to follow directions or
Mm-hmm.
understand the directions when they were given.
Mm.
So her dad and I became her frontal lobes, I
Wow.
see now,
Right.
because she could not do schoolwork. We helped her through. I will admit we did her homework as she got older in grade school, junior high. And by high school, she was under scrutiny of being bullied
Mm.
and talked about because she couldn't seem to fit in socially,
Mm-hmm.
because other kids were quick to make decisions, to not talk about things, to talk about things, to obey or not obey.
Mm-hmm.
But she was confused.
Right. And I'm sure you and your husband just have many, many discussions about how to help her.
And I remember Jerry saying to me, we don't know what is going on, but we're going to do what we think God wants us to do, even though it produces no positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. We loved her. We
Mm.
listened to her. We
Yeah.
cared for her. We did not judge her, but we were constantly surprised at behavior.
Yeah.
So when she got into smoking, that shocked us.
Mm.
When I found bottles of alcohol uh, we were shocked
Mm-hmm.
because this was a lifestyle that we were not acquainted with. But
Mm-hmm.
we loved her, we talked, we tried to figure things out, and we were getting really no answers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when we saw her leave the house at 19 or 20. She was still living at home. She had not graduated from
Mm-hmm.
high school, even. But she was able to get into a Christian college. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
We thought.
Well, sure.
And that was because my husband was on the board at the time of Biola University,
Ah.
and
Mm-hmm.
her roommate there actually helped introduce her to illegal drugs. Because, Lindy, I want to tell you, everyone is broken. No one is perfect. No institution is without the brokenness of this world. I don't have any judgment for anyone, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where she learned how she could fit in. She did not fit in high school,
Right.
and she really did not fit into the Biola Christian atmosphere very long because she was introduced to the drug world. We
Right.
brought her home after 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew we had a tiger on our hands.
Right.
She was moving into how do you pay for drugs if you do not have a good job?
Yeah.
And there was only one way. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I saw her pack a different attire, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
in bags when I found them,
Mm-hmm.
they were bags of clothing that would attract people who were using her sexually on the streets of
So
Vancouver.
heartbreaking. Yeah. In Vancouver.
This was in Vancouver. Yeah, we brought her home. We lived at the time in Vancouver, BC.
Oh, okay. So I was missing that part. You were in Vancouver.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Now,
She
I
was born in
I need to
Vancouver.
get us,
Mhm,
yeah. So she ended up
mhm.
back and forth from being homeless, right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because she would leave our house in Vancouver. Where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
We would get, oh, I'm going to see a friend. And then we wouldn't see her for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So how did you finally,
Okay.
when you get to the point of finding out that she had a brain injury at birth, how did that come about?
Okay. Quick story. Her brother, who lived down here, we had moved to California.
Mhm.
Kristen opted to stay in Vancouver and to be with the people on the streets of Vancouver rather than move with her family here. This was a very big decision
Mm.
that Kristen made,
Mhm.
and we did not give up. We kept praying,
Mhm.
and actually, a couple of years of being down here in California, her brother flew up and, with a picture of her in his back pocket, visited a lot of different streets, kiddie strolls, they're called,
Mhm.
and found information about Kristen and ultimately found her at a drug mission rehab. And she was found on that park bench by a policeman, naked, and taken to this drug rehab. And John found her at the rehab only by a miracle in the city of Vancouver.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you to just pause right here again. I need to take another
Sure.
break. And I know that there's going to be a turn in the story now, and the
Oh,
beginning
yes.
of
Oh,
B.R.A.I.N.
yes.
So
Oh, yes.
we'll be right back. Please come back and hear the rest of this incredible story. So Sue, thank you for sharing what must be just a heart-wrenching kind of throwing you back into the middle of
Yeah.
this emotional period of your life. I know when people ask me to talk about Ryan, somehow I viscerally start to feel it again,
Yes.
though many years have gone by. But you have taken us through, 30 years, I suppose, of just trying to help your daughter and only seeing her go down a road that was more than distressing. Now your son has found her in Vancouver, and I want to hear how the story continues from there.
Let me just say, I am leaving out a lot of
Sure.
details.
Yes.
And when he found her and brought her down here, believe me, we were all crushed because we had seen her. My husband and I had both flown up to Vancouver, found her in flop houses, drug her out of drug rehabs, because I'm telling you, a lot had taken place, but God's grace kept us connected.
Mhm.
And when John brought her down here, we knew that she was, without God's healing, permanently injured. You
Mhm.
see, a brain injury is the first step, but if you self medicate with drugs, alcohol, lifestyle, and such, you can finish the work. Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but the Lord comes to give life and life more abundantly. And we knew that her life was only the beginning because we knew we had to start something because we flew all over the United States looking for a place that could house, feed, and help and give therapy to
Mhm.
Kristen, but there was none.
Mhm.
So originally in 2008, we put together a 501c3 with the idea of research, recovery, and residential care. But
Mhm.
we quickly found out that that was too big of one person's vision. This is why I've needed you, Lindy, on the residential piece.
Mhm.
So we have chosen research recovery and residual care.
Yeah.
We have people getting therapy now here that have been here for over 10 years and they are improving. We
Mhm.
got that bit of advice from Dr. Bennett Omalu, the person who coined chronic traumatic encephalopathy in the NFL. He's a good friend of
Mhm.
mine. And
Yes.
he said, Sue,
There's a
you,
movie about.
that's right. And I will tell you, anyone who has gotten into this envelope has found great challenge. And he has been one to be challenged. You have been one to be challenged. And our family has been challenged.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, B.R.A.I.N has brought life, love, and hope
Yeah.
to hundreds of families.
I know.
And
I know many of them myself. So
okay, so
I
what would you like to know
provide.
about this organization?
Well, I want to share your message that you have on your website, and this is going to also explain a little bit about who you are and
Okay,
why B.R.A.I.N got started. It says, a message from Sue. This is you speaking. I am constantly trying to look at life through the lens of a brain injured person. What is
Mhm.
it like to see pictures of people having fun? How does
Yes.
it feel when you're unable to say even your own name?
Yes.
How does one find help amidst the tangled web of assistance for brain injury? There's a lot out there, but it's very confusing. Confusion,
Very.
say, confusion, frustration, and anger are emotions that can strangle a brain injured person daily.
Yes.
Learning to accept reality, finding someone to talk who offers understanding, and having a strong faith in God are some ways that I believe can help
Yes.
pull the brain injured person through the
Yes.
days of loss. Brain exists to come alongside and help the brain injured individual. And that is why you do what you do. It's why we do at Ryan's Reach what we do. We do have
Yes.
that. We have 2 group homes, and that's only housing 9 brain injured individuals. And I know
Yes.
it needs to grow. I know we need to have more, but we're coming alongside. We're not taking full responsibility, but we're coming alongside and helping
So I'm
because
going to tell you something.
sure.
What we are doing right now is something that I'm not even fully on board with. And I'll tell you why. It's interesting. I have 13 therapists. The 13th does her work on Zoom.
Mhm,
I do not do Zoom
mhm.
because I have found that what we have here is personal connection.
Right.
We have people who give therapy one to a class, one to a group of 80 to 100. But the individual therapy is so important because once you've seen one brain injury, you have seen one brain injury.
Right.
Every single one is unique. And I am speaking right now to possibly families who are devastated by their loved one's brain injury.
Mhm.
And Zoom does not cut it. I have rooms right now giving meet and greet meetings for new families here. And they are amazed that we are able possibly to help them because everything from a gunshot wound
Mhm.
to a stroke, we
Mhm.
help.
Yeah. Well, I want to just itemize some of the ways that you do. I'm going to just read off a little bit of a list, uh,
Good.
and then we'll talk a little bit about anything you want to talk about. But you have something
Sure.
called FBI, which I'm very familiar with, and some of our residents attend. It's called Friends of Brain Injury.
Mhm.
Tuesday nights, you have social events. You have classes that include cognitive, physical, speech and language therapy, massage therapy, choir for people with brain injury, and you even have a program called Brain Cells Program. I would like you to first talk about Friends of Brain Injury because
Sure.
kind of cognitive, physical, speech, those are all very needed.
Yes, we also have acupuncture.
Ooh.
We have a variety of therapies. And I will tell you, each one has its own envelope of blessing to the people. So, Friends of Brain Injury, FBI, is a complimentary
Mhm.
meeting. Last night, is this Wednesday today?
It was last night. I
Yes.
even know the topic.
And last night, I was unable to actually even attend, which I'm always there, but I was dealing with one brain injured person here in my office who needed just to talk through some decisions that
Mhm.
he is making. So,
Mhm.
but I will tell you, every week we have a different topic on brain health, exercise, diet, socialization, the idea of drinking enough water, the
Mhm.
idea of staying away from drugs. Of course, this is a tough one because it's legal,
Mhm.
but mixing prescriptions and drugs is difficult. So that's FBI.
FBI. And then I want to ask you, what is the brain cells program? But I'm going to only have like 30 seconds. So maybe we should come back to that.
No,
And
I can tell you. I
oh,
can
you
tell you
can.
in
Okay,
30
brain
seconds.
cells. Do it.
In brain cells, it is a one-to-one complementary setup, a connection between a mentor and a brain injured person.
I love that. And I'm going to have to learn more about that because I see so much of how we can connect in our different
Sure,
with our different
sure,
people that come to us. When we
sure.
come back, I want to hear a little bit more about brain, and I also want to hear about some wonderful stories of people who have attended there. So
You
don't go
got it.
away. We're coming right back with some good news. Well, I have just a little bit of time left with you, Sue, and I know we could talk for half a day and still have more to say. So I want to condense this down for our listeners who have heard your story, know that Brain exists. It's in Cypress, California. I don't think I had even mentioned your location. I know people are listening from all over, could be anywhere. So
Yes.
just offer some hope if anything like this could get started in their area. If you want to be the one to start something, just explain to them the benefits of this one-on-one kind of philosophy that you have and
Okay.
what you've seen firsthand.
I've had people say all kinds of, and I know you have too, they've given us all kinds of ideas, whether it's a cupcake sale
Mhm.
or it's you should have this place replicated all over the United States.
Mhm.
Leadership is key to any kind of an organization.
Mhm.
And so the one on one idea that we have here is very unique. We have tried to expand brain in other parts of California. It has not worked, I will be honest.
Mhm.
So I will tell you the benefits that I have enjoyed, but I'm also going to give hope that if someone who has not had no medical background, I'm a teacher, um, communications consultant, can put together a group of people, anyone can do it.
Mhm.
But they have to have the right connections, the right leading of God, in my mind, to do it. And they can. We
Mhm.
have had people come here. Uh, they had an incident in their neighborhood and they were shot in the head, got in the middle of a dispute. We have had motorcycle accidents.
Mhm.
We have had people that the hospital said they will never walk, talk, eat.
Mhm.
And honestly, if they're taken off life support, they will never breathe again. And I have advocated for people, and they not only are breathing,
Mhm.
they are walking, they are talking,
Mhm.
they are living life and thriving. So the people, I have a million stories. Nothing is impossible.
Mhm.
with,
So really, if you feel a compulsion,
I
you
do.
you have to have connections. And I want to say, maybe some, but I find connections are made if you are really called to do this.
Oh, yes.
You meet people that come alongside you and you go,
Yes.
wow, I never would
Yes.
have known you existed, but they want to help.
That's right.
So
That's
it's
right. That's
right,
right. So that's my thing. I have put together people who have felt called to be here. Our
right.
therapists, our staff,
Yes.
our volunteers from 6 universities.
Amazing. And you just meet them and you say, would you like to come? And they're mostly independent contractors.
Yes.
So they come and they set appointments and they will do a speech therapy or a massage appointment and it's done affordably. That's the thing that
Yes.
is amazing
Yes.
because you're a nonprofit.
That's right. So we're very careful to keep our nonprofit status.
Mhm,
Uh, I don't advertise a lot.
mhm,
Between you and me and everyone out there, we have a program that we have a scholarship program that we put into place for our veterans who
mm,
have served us. We have a lot of different programs, but if I advertise, I'll be out of business
mm.
because there will be so many people that
Yes.
will come to us. You understand?
Right.
So it is a balance of fundraising. I take no money from the government, not a dime, no grants, no programs, nothing.
Mm,
Because if I take money from the government, I cannot pray with people.
mm,
I could not share my faith, and
mm,
I do that liberally.
mhm.
God is truly the boss of this organization, and I'm under him. We have a very different org chart, shall I say.
Yeah. Well, can you give out your website information and how
Sure.
people might follow you? Do you have a social media presence or just on the
All
web?
of well, I will tell you, all of our people use social media.
Mhm,
I don't, at this point, use Instagram, Facebook,
mhm,
or any of those programs because it is a secondary communication. And
mhm,
often things get twisted, and then I spend more time fixing the mistakes and
mm.
paying someone to do it.
Uh,
We're a very lean place. It
yeah,
is www.thebrainsite, SITE.org.
right. The brain
The
site.
brainsite.org. There's only one of us.
Mhm,
It is thebrainsite.org. And we are available to talk, to give ideas, to give resources,
mhm,
medical resources, legal resources. We're a network. We
mhm.
are brain rehabilitation and injury
Work.
network.
Yeah,
So we are happy to give Ryan's Reach for residential. I'm
right.
happy to give many people's information for other resources.
Yeah. And we're happy to bring our residents to your FBI meetings and take advantage of the way you have speech therapy. And it's
Great.
just been a wonderful synergy that we have been able to network together. One
Wonderful.
last, I've got about 30 seconds. Can you
Okay.
end us with the one nugget of wisdom for the brain injured person?
For the brain injured person, the family is the most integral. And if you have no family member to come alongside of you, please call us. Please email us, because we will become your family to help you through this difficult journey of brain injury.
Well, God bless you, Sue. I'm so glad you came on today. I can't wait to share this conversation we've had. And
Great.
keep doing what you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you so
Right.
much. You too.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, everybody.